So there's some new faces here. What I'm going to do is what we did last time. It's going to be a similar setup. I'm going to pass a mic to you guys, and then you can kind of explain why you're interested in this meetup and what your desire is to get out of the meetup, because we're all kind of here to act as a co-op for each other, to help each other be inspired to make documentaries, and if you're already working on something, to actually finish it and get it created so that you can enter it into film festivals or whatever you want to do with it.
Awesome. I'm Carl, and I used to work in television in Ireland, and I just moved to Vancouver, and I used to make documentaries. And I have two ideas that I'd like to thrash out, and I'm just here to see what's happening. So thanks for having me, guys.
Hello, my name is Amit, and this is my second meeting. I see some familiar faces here. So I basically, I have a passion for photography and videography. I'm a longtime photographer, and recently getting into the video side of things. So that's why I decided to join this group and learn from you guys as well. So today I just brought some gear along that they asked me to bring just to show you guys what I use and might benefit you guys as well.
Hi, my name's Jeremy. I'm a writer, so I've done music videos and things, minimal, just mainly on the editing side, and I have a few ideas for, like scripts and stuff for maybe trying out. And the first one that I think's the best, kind of timely for right now, is the one on democracy, right? Because it's the thing that everybody knows what it is, but then when you ask people to describe it, no one knows what it is, right? And it's just a timely thing, because we're just replaying history, like Roman history, French history, and it always ends up there's civil wars and and dictators, right? In the end, with republics is what we have. So no one's had a democracy in 2,000 years, and I just think it's kind of something that's it's timely right now.
My name's Andrew. I'm the music composer. Nothing really much else to say to that. I don't really have much to do until you guys are finished, and I got something to write to. So I will pass the mic to Marianne. Come on, don't be shy.
No.
Speak into it.
Haha. So it's Marianne, and did you want to introduce yourself? Okay. And I'm from Ottawa, and I just recently moved to Vancouver, and I'm interested in directing and writing, and working with team, and sort of building a team to work with, basically. I've got a few ideas for documentary, and I do fiction as well. And I'm currently trying to finish a fiction visual narrative that I've started a long time ago, and hopefully find a good editor. So if someone's interested in editing, talk to me. Okay.
Hi, I'm Alan. I'm a longtime TV producer. I worked for CTV for about 15 years, running a series. Recently started my own company called First Story Media, me and a buddy and a longtime colleague. And we are pitching a lot to broadcasters for series. Series is kind of where I kind of live. But I want to do a one-off doc as well. Actually, I've got two ideas, and I'm just here to, get some inspiration, some feedback, and see what other people are doing. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Dan. This is my first meeting. I'm really interested in documentaries. I kind of stumbled into acting a few months ago and really enjoy it a lot. I was thinking that my role here might be like voiceovers. I would like to do that kind of thing. I'm also a musician, so I can do supplementary soundtrack work, and I understand music and composing as well, so that's about it.
I'm Nick. I'm working with Anna on her particular project. I'm an editor on occasion, and I also do some acting once in a while, but I'm sticking to editing for now.
Okay, my second time, it's Anna or Anya, and we're looking at a documentary, autumn and winter, and we might, if we have the time, we might show a little bit, at least, the background. We're certainly far from done.
Well, that's it. Oh.
That's it.
Cliff, I'm an actor and rather prolific writer, many different genres, and I'm not saying that to impress you, it's just that I do write whatever I'm asked to write. So right now I'm writing a film noir for the Rain City Festival coming up in April. I'm involved in the Autumn and Winter project, but I'm also interested in exploring areas that I'm not exploring at this time. I can do voiceovers, and I am a musician as well, so you and I have something in common. And yeah, I guess that's about it.
Hi, my name is Brandon. I work here at Hootsuite with Darcy. Before starting here, though, I worked in the film industry for about 2 years for a production company called Sepia Films in Vancouver, who do a lot of TV movies for like Lifetime, Hallmark, and some documentaries as well. So film's always been a big passion of mine. I'm going to talk a little bit about that. But yeah, no, it's so awesome that everyone's here to collaborate and be a part of something. So I'm really happy to be here.
Okay, so we have a bit of an itinerary for today. Every meetup, I'm going to try and put a bit of structure to it so that you guys can get something out of it. And for people that aren't able to attend, they can kind of see our progress. And when they join, they can jump into a project that you're working on, or they can just sort of see where people are at and see if they can fit in somewhere in some creative capacity. So today we're looking at music and makers. All of you guys have some kind of creative interest in making a documentary, obviously. So with Andrew, Andrew Wynn, he's a musical composer, and I figured, why don't I challenge him a bit and give him just give him a little video clip from a documentary that I filmed in Australia. Well, I've got a ton of footage from it, and I'm gonna put together slowly this year among other projects I'm working on. And so I gave him the video clip, and I said, can you make a musical score for this? And then he said, well, do you want it to sound kind of like X-Files-y or something like that? And I said, how about this? I challenge you to make 2 different scores so that we can invoke a sort of different feel and different sort of emotion when people are watching it. So we're gonna listen and watch the trailer. It's a little bit longer than your average trailer. And then we'll just kind of like talk and give feedback on like which score you thought might have fit better, and what kind of mood was invoked from either one. And yeah, you'll see the trailer has normal, refined dialogue soundtrack to it, so it's not been mixed properly or anything like that. But in the future, we're gonna show another video clip where Andrew's gonna do correction to the audio mix of a dialogue track too. So you can see he's more than just a musical composer. But I just wanted to focus on the music for today's session and then show what he can do in another one.
It's a touchy subject, and a lot of people know that this phenomenon is real, but because of public attitude towards it, people don't seem to want to speak much about it. And that situation seems to be more prevalent in small towns like this, where there's a very limited population and everybody knows everybody, and nobody wants to be known as the person who's seen a strange UFO.
I would say that these are definitely aircraft, and the reason why you're seeing a round light is because it's effectively a round light which is on the aircraft, and you would be looking there at you're actually looking at the rear of the aircraft, so you're actually seeing what's coming out of the engine. That's like the thrust. These are stars that we can see around here.
Do stars flash?
Do stars flash? Stars can change in brightness. We call these variable stars. In fact, every star in the galaxy changes to some extent. but there are some stars that change very significantly over short periods, maybe over a few hours. They can change by a factor of 2 or 3.
And the camera's shaking up quite a bit. But definitely aircraft, I would say, I would have no issue.
It's a touchy subject, and a lot of people know that this phenomenon is real, but because of public attitude towards it, people don't seem to want to speak much about it. And that situation seems to be more prevalent in small towns like this, where there's a very limited population and everybody knows everybody, and nobody wants to be known as the person who's seen a strange UFO.
I would say that these are definitely aircraft, and the reason why you're seeing a round light is because it's effectively a round light which is on the aircraft, and you would be looking there at you're actually looking at the rear of the aircraft, so you're actually seeing what's coming out of the engine. That's like the thrust. These are stars that we can see around here.
Do stars flash?
Do stars flash? Stars can change in brightness. We call these variable stars. In fact, every star in the galaxy changes to some extent, but there are some stars that change very significantly over short periods, maybe over a few hours. They can change by a factor of 2 or 3.
And the camera's shaking up quite a bit. But definitely aircraft, I would say, I would have no issue.
I like the first one better because the second one's so far mixed back you can't hear it.
I was going to ask, can we hear them with it, or can we hear a bit of them? Just, do you have the original tracks, just without the interview material? Just because I couldn't hear the second one.
Couldn't hear the second one?
No.
The second one I mixed down quite a bit because it overpowered some of the dialogue. And the reason why I did that is because what I found when I was making my second documentary, I had a really overpowering score for the first round that I went through it. And I used a number of different composers to make that first score. And then I did a Kickstarter, got some money for it, went back to the editing studio, and I got one composer to do the whole thing, and he mixed down any parts that were like way too overpowering, and we actually added stuff that was more drone sounding or just ambient, and that had the same sort of tempo. So my constructive criticism for the second version was that it was just too distracting if you had that at a normal level as the dialogue, because it just would take over the focus of the scenes, right? Where the dialogue should still be number one focus. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, I agree with what you just said there, because in my experience, music should come in and out and should emphasize some visuals and should drift out over the dialogue, and you shouldn't be able to hear it, and you bring it in at strategic points, and I liked it. I liked both of them. I would say that you have 2 or 3 different kind of like stings there, but for a documentary you probably need 20, right? But what you do have is good. I think it's a great start. They need to be placed a little more strategically, and you need more variety in those to emphasize different moods, because you can't have just one mood going through a document, even a short documentary. You need to mix it up a bit. That's all. But otherwise, it was great. Thanks.
I preferred the second one. I found the first one too distracting with the dialogue. It was too busy, and there was like a rhythmic dissonance between the vocal, or what the man was saying, with the music. The second one, it was kind of more like a pad, and it kind of supported, in general, what the people were saying. And the only thing is, there was a kind of a drone that would come in really loud at certain points, a number 2. And I found that distracting. It upstaged what the person was saying.
I prefer the first one. Like the others said, it was a little more understandable and clearer to hear.
Yeah, between the two, I preferred the first. The second one I found I couldn't hear it as well, and also more like noise. The first one, I preferred it, like I said, but I would tone it down a bit.
Definitely the second one, because the first one gave me, I didn't like the mood. It felt like a rip-off of the X-Files. Really did. And as has been said, it was too loud. It was too upfront. The second one I liked because it hung around in the background. It was slightly ominous. It was almost subliminal. And in fact, if you hadn't told me to pay attention to it, I probably wouldn't have noticed it, but I would have noticed that I felt differently. So in that way, I think it was much better, the second one. The first one could still work, but as has been said, the volume has to come way down because I was continually being challenged to pay attention to the dialogue when the music was up.
Yeah, I like the first one. I couldn't really hear the second one with the Atmos on the microphones.
I like the second one better. The first one just sounded a little too happy and too uppity for the type of, I guess, for the material you had there. And the second one, I had to really listen for it, but it had a more of a mysterious kind of feel to it. I thought maybe the sound levels could have been bumped up just a touch, to make it stand out a little bit, because you really had to listen for it. But yeah, second one, for sure.
It's really interesting that there's such varying opinions on that music, right? So in my opinion, when I first listened to the two, the first track I actually liked a lot better, with the piano, because I felt like it's kind of like this investigative, sort of like taking you through a journey type sound. The second one it's very orchestral. There's all kinds of like cymbal crashes and stuff like that, and it's got emphasis, but it's just a little bit too distracting when like somebody's talking for some of that stuff to kind of smash over certain parts of the dialogue. So what I would have done is like listened to the two different tracks and then sat down with Andrew and got him to recompose parts of it so that it would like fall in line with the sound that I wanted, and so it was less distracting, and some of the stuff fit perfectly when we wanted to bring emphasis to the screen and then, go back to being less distracting. But really good job, Andrew. So I'm excited for some of the stuff you're going to do for the guys in the group here. I know that a lot of people are looking for music, and I'm definitely going to be looking for music for this and other stuff I'm working on. Okay, so I just want to talk about some other stuff. Anya is working on a documentary, which we will try to help with. We can help in many different ways, so we can watch some of the footage she's already got. Are you three working together on it? Okay, very cool. Oh, you three. Okay, cool. So whenever you guys, if you have some footage, we can put it on later on today, and we can watch a bit of it, and we'll get you up here, Anya, I'll give you a mic. You can talk about the kind of journey you're trying to tell, the narrative you've got for this story. And if we have any constructive feedback, we'll give it to you, and hopefully we can, if there's any parts that you're missing that you need to still get shot or something like that, maybe we can help with that as well. Very cool. So other things that are going on, I got contacted by a gentleman named Dan. He might arrive late today, really late, obviously, and what he wants to do is a documentary on the Vancouver riots. I don't know if anybody remembers those, but some people took hockey a little too seriously some years back, and they ended up ripping apart the downtown city core. And it could be a really interesting story because there's a lot of that information available, like who started the riot, how it grew, you know, the penalties and the punishments that came out from starting the riot and the perpetrators and what kind of damages and all that stuff. So I don't know, it's an interesting thing. And when I was looking at it, I kind of thought a bigger overarching story would be why people do riots, and like maybe there's a bigger message to just like a small riot, right, breaking out. Then we look at like things like the Arab Spring and all that stuff, right? But I'll have to talk with Dan. I'm planning on helping him. Filming and editing that will be a task, but we have to sit down and sort of break down a narrative and figure out what kind of storyline we want to tell. Because in documentaries, there's a story, right? And you have to like follow a sort of logical narrative so that you can take people through the story. It's not only fiction that has a story to tell, right? Another recent thing that happened was my film actually won an award at a film festival. So the film festival is called Fame US. It's held in Los Angeles every year, and they have a couple little versions of it. They have like kind of quarterly versions of it, and the end of the year, they take all the winners and they compete in a final round. So Brendan, he's gonna come up and do a demo whenever you'd like. If you want, you can come up now.
Hi, everybody. So I thought I would kind of talk about kind of my journey in film and video as the slide shows. Film has always played a very important role in my life. As a kid growing up, obsessed with movies and TV shows. I didn't play too many sports when I was a kid. I was always at home watching Ghostbusters for the 50th time, or Back to the Future, something like that. As I got older, when I was about 14, my cousin and I started making really silly movies with our grandfather's camcorder, and had a lot of fun with that, just playing around, being silly and goofy. As I got into high school, I took media arts and kind of discovered film as a way of self-expression. And you know, when you're a kid, you've got a lot of angst and feelings that you're not sure how to express. And for me, film was a way to do that. So after high school, I mean, film had always been kind of a goal for me to get into the film industry. I took a stagecraft program, which was more theater-based, but with intentions to get into film as well. So I worked on a few plays there, but after that, just kind of worked retail, regular jobs, and started taking part in whatever projects kind of came up. Anyone was doing any sort of video or production, play, whatever, I would say yes, and I would go out and try to help out as much as I can. Even though I might not have been very confident or knowledgeable in what I was doing, I just went for it and kind of learned on the job. I was working at Whole Foods. I worked there for about 4 years. At that time, a customer of mine was a producer at Sepia Films, which is a local production company. I remember he came through my till And usually I'll ask people, you know, so what are you up to today? And he said he was going to a premiere of a movie that he would produce. So that kind of turned something on in my brain, a good person to a good contact to have. So every time he came in, I would make a point to talk about film and movies, and kind of kept that going for a couple of years. And I had worked as a PA on the television show Supernatural, on my off days from Whole Foods, and he had come in, and I made a point to kind of steer the conversation. So, you know, he asked me what I was doing. I said, oh, well, I'm really tired. I was working on Supernatural on my days off, and then he said to me, he's like, oh, so is that what you want to do, is work in film? And I said, yes, please. So he said, okay, well, we're shooting this movie up in Kelowna. Is that something you'd be interested in? And I said, yes. So I got his contact info, and there was a lot of correspondence back and forth. Wasn't really sure what I could do, but I showed initiative and passion, and that I wanted to do whatever they could offer. Hadn't heard from him in a little while, so I figured it wasn't happening. And then I get an email out of the blue saying, "Oh, you know, we got a position for you. When can you come up to Kelowna?" So within a couple days, I quit my job at Whole Foods, took a bus up to Kelowna, and found accommodation, and was up there for about a month working on this movie called. It was Sister's Nightmare, which is a series for Lifetime of TV movies that they did. Mother's Nightmare, Sister's Nightmare, Wife's Nightmare, Daughter's Nightmare, and so on. That was a big risk for me, quitting a full-time job and kind of taking this leap towards a dream that I had. It was scary, but it was also very empowering, and it got me really excited. So when I came back from that, it was about a couple weeks went by, and then I got an email from them saying if I was interested in doing some production work at their office in Vancouver. And then, so from there, I worked doing a lot of administrative work, as well as some social media and whatnot around the office. And then we'd go up to Kelowna or Victoria for about a month at a time and work on these TV movies. And I did the EPK stuff for them, shot behind the scenes footage, did their social media, all that kind of stuff, and had an amazing time. But I always felt that I had a feeling in the back of my mind that film might not be kind of the long-term goal for me in terms of what I wanted to do as a career. But I love the collaborative aspect of it. So kind of everything kind of happened organically. I had this wonderful opportunity, and then it kind of organically kind of ended, and I got this job here, which I love so much. But I still love that collaborative aspect and creating something and people coming together with their ideas, and that's what I'm really excited about for this group here. So I'm just going to show a couple videos. The first one's called Danger House Reviews, and this was a YouTube series thing that my friend and I did. We produced 35 episodes in our house. Basically, the concept was, it started with our friends. We'd have somebody come over, we'd watch a movie, then we'd sit down and talk about it, and I'd shot it and edit it. We talked for 30 minutes to an hour, and then I'd cut it down to about 5 minutes. But this video here is a teaser I did for season 2 of our show, to kind of give an idea about the energy that we bring. We also had a lot of comedians from Vancouver come on the show, which was a really fun opportunity. This next one I'm going to show is some part of the EPK stuff that I did for Sepia on their last film, Perfect High, which is a Lifetime movie about a young girl who gets involved in heroin. And Bella Thorne is a pretty big Disney star amongst the tween crowd, so this was a big dramatic turn for her career. Electronic press kit, so it's like supplemental material for movies like you'd find on DVD, special features, interviews with the cast, behind the scenes footage, stuff like that.
Hey Hey, what's up? I'm Bella Thorne, and I play Amanda in Perfect Tie. Perfect Tie is about a girl named Amanda who is obsessed with dance.
And for the interviews we did, we shot it with a boom mic for audio. Before that, on the previous EBK I did, we did lapel mics, which worked really nicely as well. But yeah, I'm really excited to take a part in however I can. I have editing and putting together the film and video has always been fun, but I definitely like. It's not my strong suit, but I like coming together and kind of helping out wherever I can. So yeah, that's what I have to say about that. Yes, Darcy.
So you use a 60D for the EPKs. Did you use anything differently for the footage you're filming your show with your friends?
I used a Rebel T3i for that which I have, which is my camera. I was using a different camera for the 60D. But yeah, and I have a Rode mic, Video Mic Pro, which I use for the show and whatever else. Have any questions?
So you said, what capacity are you willing to help? Like you said.
I honestly, I just like being a part of it. So any help that I can bring towards the projects, I'm willing to. I have a lot of working for a film production company in various aspects. You kind of become a jack of all trades. So yeah, whatever's needed, I'm willing to kind of do what I can. Yeah. Cool. Thanks a lot, guys.
The last several years, I've been shooting a lot of weddings from all different cultures and events. So I had a couple of old Canon 5D full frame bodies, and which work really good quality images. So recently, I wanted to get into the video side of things, so I decided to upgrade and get an additional body. And this is what I have here is a 5D Mark III. It's a full frame, does really good photos, and also the video quality is really good. So when I was shooting photographs at the different venues, I noticed a lot of the videographers would be using this particular model. It was about 90% of the people shooting video were using the 5D Mark III. So I thought it would be a natural progression to try that out. And so I'm here today just to talk a little bit about what I have and what some of the components are on there that can help you. Maybe some of you are already used to using these types of cameras. You have DSLRs to capture video, or you can use something like that to capture video. That's more of a dedicated video camera. The dedicated video cameras tend to be a little easier to use out of the box because they have the XLR inputs and they have autofocus features, things like that. These types of cameras don't have. So the little bit of a learning curve to do video on these is a little bit higher. One thing is really important with DSLR video shooting is the sound quality. You have to be, the preamps that are built on board into the DSLRs are not very good quality. So if you're shooting using the preamps in the camera, you're going to get a lot of background hiss and noise. And so one of the ways we overcome it is to use something like an external mic. This is a Rode mic. Brandon, you mentioned a Rode Video Mic Pro. They're a little bit pricey. I tried one of those Chinese knockoffs, and I kind of wish I never bought it because it's a waste of money. I should have just got the good one to start with. Sometimes you learn as you go along, but this thing has a plus 20 decibel boost. So what it does is I connect it to the camera. What I do in the camera settings, I reduce the preamp volume gain down to the lowest level possible and boost the gain on here, the switch on here, so that the signal to noise ratio is boosted really high. So you don't get that background, that hiss, and you hear a lot more clarity in the sound. And that's been working really well. And the other thing you notice on here is just a little light. Now this light can be put on a stand, or you can have one or two different lights, but just to show you how bright this thing gets, it actually throws, like Anya's face actually lit up from all the way from here. So, yeah, these are LED lights. They might have some color correction type, issues with them because they tend to be a little white, about 5600 Kelvin. But that can be fixed in post, not a big deal. But the nice thing is they run on battery, and they can run maybe like 2 hours and give you good light to fill in some shadows, and even outdoors or if you're close up to somebody. And if you get 2 or 3 of these, you can put one for a hair light. You can have one coming from different angles. And they're pretty cheap. Like a light like this goes for about 40 bucks. So yeah. Yeah, they come with a little screen you put in the front. You can warm up the light, or 2 different gels that just slip right in front. So, yeah. So, and also if you notice, this is just a regular tripod. It's an old Manfrotto tripod. The head on here is a video head, so it's got a little handle you can turn. This is a really old kind of a head. A little beat up, but it works, so it's okay. One thing I really like is the lens on here. Canon's come out with a really nice set of lenses. They're actually incorporating image stabilization inside the lenses. They're f4 lenses, but the image stabilization there is really incredible. I can literally take this thing off the tripod and come up to something and shoot it handheld, and the thing looks like it's sitting on a tripod. You can't hold it too long because it gets heavy, then you start. But 15, 20-second clips easily you can hold it, and then put it back. And I was really impressed. So now when I buy a lens, I make sure it has image stabilization because I'm always thinking about the video aspect of things as well. How many of you guys have used SLR type cameras to do video? And the regular video cameras, you guys probably use, yeah. So one thing that Darcy had asked me to talk about briefly was the Magic Lantern. Does anybody know what that is? Yeah, it's a Canon. It's actually a third-party kind of a software that you load onto a memory card, and when you put it into the camera, it unleashes like hundreds and hundreds of features in the camera. Because the camera, the way it is, if you want to focus, you can't focus while it's recording. You can't see. It doesn't do any focus peaking. Like you can't, your eyes can only see so much detail on the screen, and you can't tell if it's really in focus or not. But with the Magic Lantern, there's a feature you can turn on, and when it just like zooms, it blows up the image, so you can see really close detail. So you can zoom in while it's recording, and there's a whole host of features. You can even shoot in RAW, like in RAW format, like you shoot RAW as for photographs. I tried doing it, but you need a really fast memory card to do that. And then you can color grade and do whatever you want with it right from scratch. So it gives you really, really high quality output. It's unfortunate that Canon doesn't, give you all that stuff. You spend all the money on a camera, and then you got to go to a third party to plug in something and then get it. But it has that. Nikon doesn't have anything like that, but Canon has, So you like your T3i, Brandon? Yeah, I've got T3i in my bag, and I have Magic Lantern. And a T3i you can buy for literally like a used one for $200-300 because it's an old model. But you load Magic Lantern on there, and it's becomes like a $3,000 camera, and the software is literally free. You just download it, put it on a memory card, and all of a sudden you got so many features on it, right? So you don't need to spend a lot of money to get really good quality video output. Like the T3i is an industry standard for videographers. It's got a crop sensor on it, which in decent light, it gives you superb quality images. This one here has a full frame sensor. So if in lower light situations, it'll do a little better. You can crank up the ISO, and it may not give you as much noise. And but they all, do pretty good. I have a monopod as well. A monopod is just like that stick with a head on it, and sometimes it's a little more mobile. You can run and gun with it. But I do prefer tripods because you get a nice stable image to use that. So that's all I really want to say. It's just it's equipment. It's not that exciting, but it is for me. but I want to get to the bottom line. I want to get to be able to use it, put it to use, And so if you guys do have, you know, you want to shoot something and we can all work together. And I'm learning the editing side of things too, the Final Cut Pro and all that. So I believe you're an editor. Yeah, what do you use? Pretty. Yeah. So yeah, it's really exciting. I want to learn all the aspects of it, the editing, the capturing the video. I have 2 cameras, T3i this one, so try to get 2 different camera angles maybe, and then try synchronizing the sounds. And there's so much fun, exciting stuff you can do, right, to create good. Yep. I don't. Yeah, I do have stuff, but I'll bring it like next time maybe, or I'll send you a link. It's just I didn't like. Yeah. Yeah. I wasn't really prepared for that, so yeah.
Is there a certain grip or something you have on that camera as well, I think?
A what?
Or a grip that you've added to the camera?
Oh, yeah. You're saying this part?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just it's a knockoff grip. It allows you to put 2 batteries in it. Because what I find with video, it drains a lot of battery. You know, I can shoot photographs on one Canon battery, like a whole day, a whole wedding. I can shoot and no problem. But once you're running the video gear, it drains a lot of battery. So with two charged batteries can go in there, I can run almost like 5-6 hours of runtime. Pardon? Well, with the Magic Lantern software, you'll get all that stuff. Literally get like 1,000 features. No, not because not the way it is, like out of the box. But if you add the Magic Lantern, you download it from the website, put it on the SD card. And the interesting thing I found out was because this camera has 2 memory card slots, so one for SD, one for compact flash. And so the Magic Lantern I actually have on the SD card, 32 gig. And the other slot I had just a regular, like a compact flash card. So when the memory card gets full, the 32 gig, I click over to the 16 gig. The Magic Lantern is still working in the background on the new card. So I didn't know, like I thought it only worked on the card that you're recording on, but it actually spills over to the other card, the spillover card, which is kind of cool. So. No, that's your preference. It's your preference how you want to shoot because it'll do either. The colors are pretty good on these cameras. That's the black and white is depending on the software how you can manipulate it after too. Because black and white you can get so many different shades and tones. Though, yeah. Sorry, for the video?
Well, in post, you can actually, I think what would be important with a camera like this is to actually get good lighting. Film noir, it's all about those like deep blacks and shadows and stuff like that. Yeah, so if you can frame the picture properly and the camera can capture really deep, contrast, then all that black and white is going to be done, the majority is going to be done in post. Like most of the films that you see today that are in black and white are not filmed in black and white. They're actually filmed in color and then they're put into post and they just cut out the color.
If you Google lighting ratios, it'll explain how you shoot really contrasting white and blacks. So the way it is, if you shoot the ratio of 1 and you want it to be twice as bright, then it would be the ratio of 1 to 2, But if you want a ratio of 0, it's 1 and 0. But Google will tell them much better than I will.
Cool. Any other questions for Amit? Awesome. Thanks for the demo, man. That's cool. So, Anya, do you want to come up here and talk a bit about some of the footage that you've shot and? Very raw. Okay. But we'll still get sort of like the idea of the story you want to tell, right? So. Okay. Good jump.
So, just as a bit of background, my background is not film or anything, it's software. I started off as a software developer and then basically manager in tech companies, but loved the film industry. There's a lot of power. So I started attending different forums, and that's how I met Mirella, who's just sitting there. And one day we just kind of tossing ideas around and thought, there's nothing really out there for boomers, for the older generation. So this is how autumn and winter, following seasons, spring, summer, autumn, winter, that's how the idea started. And initially what we wanted was, and still do, a series. So currently we're working on a pilot for autumn and winter, and basically it's covering ideas like retirement, hoarding, death, dating when you're older, kids, when you marry, and of course his and yours, and how do you merge that? And what we want to do with that is add puppetry, we're thinking, animation, transmedia, really. So this also gave us the idea of, well, what about a documentary? Because we've shot some material, it's very, and I'll emphasize, preliminary. But the documentary would be the behind the scenes, and we're still working on the storyline, but potentially transitions from working to retirement, transitions from downsizing, relationships, maybe even going into homes, communities, and, again, adding the transmedia to it. And Nick is helping us with the cinematography, editing. We also have Jared who can make it. Cliff, a lot of the little skits because we're acting them out and then getting puppets to do some of that. And of course, Mirella, the storyline and acting and just ideas. So we would be looking for, if any of you are interested, all kinds of talent, music, animation, camera, post-editing, anything, any input you guys have for the documentary, and then of course the pilot, and with the pilot we want to go to different networks and see, does it get us anywhere? And if there's an interest, then of course we'll devote more time, we get, professional animators, etc., and hopefully yourselves involved. And I liked what Darcy said, if we can do a documentary, this was last time, the first time I was here, if we can get a documentary by the end of this year, as a target, and any collaborators, anybody who's interested, that would be one goal. Anyways, Cliff or Mirella or Nick, anybody wants to add before we show whatever you've got? We haven't seen it, by the way, guys, whatever Nick's got.
What do you think of what happened to Susan Sarandon at the SAG Awards?
What happened to Susan Sarandon?
Well, yes, in a way.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah, with our slang and our baseball caps on backwards and our flashy new sneakers, yeah. And we talk too loud and we stay out late and we don't respect our elders. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, what goes wrong? Yeah, it goes full circle here.
When I think about it, I know a lot of people now who are seniors with parents in nursing homes. And that's...
So everybody's seniors, and yet it's not equal.
It's not.
See, whereas I think of us, the autumn, like not seniors, maybe teenagers of sorts, right? But not yet seniors per se, because I look at my
don't mind
mom.
getting the discounts.
Oh, yeah, that's a different story. That I love. That I'll own up to always. We've also have little short skits that Cliff wrote, and we're acting them out, and our next step is getting a puppeteer. So this won't reflect where we're at. This is more for the series and working on the pilot. And I don't know if Nick has had a chance to put together some of the background for the documentary, maybe not yet. So this is, kind of to give you the gist of where we're hoping to go with this. And any feedback, any additional ideas, anything else anybody can think of, would be greatly appreciative.